Yes, everyone, what's going on? My name's Howson. This is Transfer Talk. We're going to be talking today about Upamecano. We're going to be talking about Haaland. And we're also going to be talking about Cristiano Ronaldo. And listen, the big thing that we need to figure out is there anything in this? Is there anything in these rumours? Is there any possibility that Ronaldo is coming back to United for a last dance, a final swan song, all of that sort of stuff? Or, one, is it nonsense? And two, do United even want him? And I think there's more to that than the initial yes or no. So let's get stuck straight into it then. The first person that we are going to be talking about today, and get your questions and comments in the comments as well, and I'll get to those as soon as we get to the end. So first one that we're talking about then is Dayot Upamecano. Now obviously we saw him at Old Trafford a couple of weeks ago as Manchester United stuck 5 past RB Leipzig. Should that single game cloud anybody's judgment about him? For me, no. I don't think he had a great game, but I certainly wouldn't judge him as a footballer based on that single game alone. Now, according to German outlet Sportbild, United are one of the clubs that have declared interest in signing Dayot Upamecano next summer. His reported release clause is £36.5 million, which is essentially like a free transfer at the moment. United have been linked with him previously, but a transfer deadline day bid failed to emerge. Upamecano has had a lot of attention in Bundesliga last season. His performances for Leipzig helped him reach the last 4 of the Champions League. In a previous contract, he had a release clause of £54 million, which did put off a few clubs that weren't willing to pay that amount. I think people might rue that as we go forward. But he has extended his contract until 2023 with Leipzig, and a new contract also has a fresh release clause in it, and that release clause is £36.5 million, or whatever the equivalency is in euros. Sportbild say that United and Liverpool are aware of the new clause and are both interested in doing a deal. Rio Ferdinand is one that rates Upamecano strongly, and he said, Upamecano is young, good on the ball, athletic, strong, mobile, plays every game. Upamecano is the one who jumps out to me. When I watched the Champions League last year, he was the one that stood out. Christian Falk today had a bit of an update where he said that Bayern Munich are interested in because they're going to be letting Jerome Boateng go for free. They're not going to renew his contract. The worry for me is when Bayern Munich get involved for a player that's in Germany, it usually means Bayern Munich are getting that player. Very rarely do Bayern Munich not get their man, especially if they're willing to let Jerome Boateng go for free. I think what's more likely to happen than anything at the moment is Bayern Munich get Upamecano, we probably get Boateng on the free. Not that I'd be mad at that. In fact, I could probably roll with that. I think Upamecano would be the buy that we'd all want to get. But if it's not an option and he's decided that he's going Bayern Munich and Bayern Munich have decided that he's going to Bayern Munich, then honestly, I would do whatever we could to try and get him. Do us a favour, like the video, and we'll have a bit of a chat about our next player that we're having a look at then. So, Axel Zagadou, young French centre-half, again, sounds familiar. Obviously plays for Dortmund. Calcio Mercato, Tier 4. I've linked United with Dan-Axel Zagadou. 21-year-old Frenchman. Currently out injured with knee ligament damage. Never a good sign. Contract expires in 2022, but he was one of a number of young talents that joined Borussia Dortmund at 17. He is left-sided and left-footed, which is obviously something that United seemingly want to find. He's got a good ability on the ball. He reads the game really well. 1.5 interceptions per game last season. He doesn't have a good injury record though. 60 appearances in 3 years. He's very Phil Jones-esque. If he can overcome his injury record, and I have my doubts, he might be a viable signing, or otherwise he could be another Eric Bailly or potentially Phil Jones. So I don't know if there's much in that. Depending on the price, if it's £28 million and it's only £36 million as a release clause for Upamecano, is there any decision to be made there whatsoever? For me, there's no decision to be made in there in the slightest. Right then, Cristiano Ronaldo. Remember that guy? According to ESPN, I know, Christian Martin, United have approached Ronaldo about returning to the club next season. Ronaldo is reportedly considering the move, and Juve would then have to sanction any transfer for the attacker, obviously, who is contracted until 2022. On the other hand, Ronaldo has been urged to join Wolves. You know, Mendy's heavily involved in the resurgent Wolves and the project that's going down at Wolves, should he make a return to the Premier League. He would be 36 years old next season. Now, for Ronaldo, age, not really the biggest sort of issue with him, I don't think. He's put up some fantastic performances at Juventus. He's put up some fantastic performances and some fantastic consistency in 2020. But he is 36. He isn't going to continue forever. Now, whether his decline comes at 36, 37, 38, 39, or even 40, his decline is coming. And it's in one of those years that you're going to not see the same Ronaldo. Now, his age can be relative to his fitness, and his fitness is fantastic, and we've seen what Zlatan's doing currently in Serie A, and he's absolutely smashing it. But the Premier League is a different kettle of fish, and the Premier League is a lot more physical than pretty much every other league in Europe. And when you're talking about someone being older, and he's not old, he's older, can Ronaldo do it? I mean, you guys in the comments, you guys let me know. Would you take Ronaldo? What sort of price are they going to be asking for him? Is it in the 40, 50 million kind of range? Is there some sort of deal to be done with Paul Pogba going the other way? Because we would definitely have to free up some significant wages for Ronaldo. How many seasons do you think you're going to get in the Premier League out of Ronaldo? Is it 1? Is it 2? And is it worth it if it is only 1 or it is only 2? Try and take nostalgia out of this. Try to take nostalgia out of this, because this is not the player that left Old Trafford in 2009. 11 years ago. 11 years ago. He's going to have spent 20 years at the top by the time he does call it a day, without a shadow of a doubt. And he's going to be good for longer than the likes of Wayne Rooney and other players like that. And he probably can still play top flight till he's 40, I would think. But is he the kind of player that's going to do what Ryan Giggs did and play 25 games a season instead of 38 to prolong his career? Is he the kind of player that's going to see his ass if he's not playing 38 games? These are the considerations that you have to give. And yeah, he gave his best years to Real Madrid, not to United. That's absolutely true. Can he come back to the Premier League and do it? And if he can come back to the Premier League and produce a 20 or 25 goal season, would that cement him as the greatest player of all time? Because this is a guy that's gone out there and absolutely proved it. Someone in the comments saying, where does that leave Martial and Cavani? I don't think it matters. I don't think it matters. Because you sign the best players and you give, and the cream rises to the top. Look who Rashford had signed in his position during the time that he's been at the club. The cream rises to the top. My opinion, I'd say move on from Ronaldo. As much as I'd love to see a swan song, and as much as I think he's a machine and a fantastic role model for young players, I think, do you know what? Sometimes you've just got to call it a day on certain players, and that for me is probably the you don't need to be bringing him back to England. The increased physicality of the English league, the increased pressure that's on at United, probably wouldn't work, and I wouldn't like to sour the relationship that we've had with him. So I'd have to say, leave it a little bit. Okay, that's Ronaldo. Next up, we're going to be talking about Eduardo Camavinga and also Erling Haaland. So United apparently view Camavinga as a successor to Paul Pogba. And AS state that he has rejected a renewal offer from Rennes with a contract until 2022. He should be available for a pretty decent price next summer. Recently turned 18 years old and is considered to be a future star with many clubs watching his progress. This would fit in with a archetype of a signing that United seemingly have gone after, if not successfully signed in recent years. He scored a stunning overhead kick inside the first 10 minutes of his first start for the French national team last month. Age 17 at the time, he became the country's youngest goal scorer in over a century. Should United make it easy for Pogba to leave, not only opens a space in the squad to sign him, but also can help them in potentially landing Haaland. Why? Well, I'll tell you why. Pogba's agent Mino Raiola acts as an advisor, obviously, for Haaland, and the newspaper reckons that Haaland and Pogba might need to be moved at the same time, or at least help facilitated at the same sort of time, which is an interesting thought on it, isn't it? I don't think the dust has settled on Haaland to United in a long time. I really don't. And I think you have to dance with the devil sometimes with Mino Raiola. Raiola probably wants to get Pogba out of the club. In fact, he definitely wants to get Pogba out of the club because he loves a signing on fee. And I think he'd probably be pretty happy at United signing Haaland at some stage in the future too. And it's clear that United do want to sign Haaland. So maybe it'd be a one in, one out kind of thing. Help us get Haaland and we'll let Pogba go and we won't kick up too much of a fuss. So it'd be interesting to see how that one goes. Let's see what some of you guys are saying in the old comments. Like I said, do us a favour then. Like the video. If you see Haaland being a United player eventually, like the video. The comparison between Camavinga and Pogba is lazy with racial undertones. They're nothing alike. I totally disagree, mate. And I think that's just clutching at absolute straws. I would take Haaland any day, says Malik. Notch saying Upamecano could be a much-needed leader at the back despite his young age. He's been playing first team for a long old time. Michael says, I would give my left nut for Haaland and my right one for Camavinga. Love it. Vicar says, Haaland is a fantastic forward. Imagine all the fantastic balls from our midfielders actually ending up in the back of the net. Haaland's a freak, isn't he? He's an absolute freak. Caleb Jennings says, Sancho, ? There's nothing on Sancho at the moment, although supposedly he's spat his dummy out a little bit about what's been going down at Dortmund and not getting the move to Manchester United. Does that mean it's still on the cards? Don't know. Afdeling says Ronaldo in. Would take Ronaldo, still got it, but I don't think the club will buy him, says Jamie. Bruno to Haaland would be stupidly good. Oof. Do you see us getting Dortmund's two best players in Sancho and Haaland in consecutive summers? We haven't got either of them yet. But Dortmund are a selling club. But you have to hit the price. That's the top and bottom of it, isn't it? Is anyone else feeling this way? I'm kind of tired of signing kids. Back in the day, we signed kids and surrounded them with men. Now the squad feels like a few men surrounded by kids. You probably got a good point. You probably do have a good point on that we don't. But the problem is that the squad is unbalanced. And I think a lot of us recognise that it's unbalanced. And that's probably why the likes of Cavani and Telles might have been signed. And this is where you would expect the likes of Paul Pogba to step up. Because he is in the perfect age to be a leader in this squad. But you don't get that out of him. That's the frustrating thing with Paul Pogba. Is that he should be the leader, but he isn't the leader. Julian says, we don't need Haaland. Greenwood is a striker and is the future. I think we probably do. How much do you think Sancho would be next summer? Well, he's not having a great season so far, so we're going to have to see, aren't we? Donny needs to be playing. He will play. How much would Sancho and Haaland cost together? Probably somewhere like 200 mil, I imagine. Bellingham was a real miss. I disagree. He wouldn't have played at 17. I think that it's a good place to go and learn your trade is the Bundesliga, but he wouldn't have been ready for the Premier League. And I actually don't think he's ready for England either, and I'm quite surprised that he's had a call-up for England, but that is it. I'd be happy if Haaland moved to United. I'll sell Africa for Haaland. I don't think it's yours to sell, my mate, but I like it. I'd like to see us get as a top-class CDM to replace Matic, says Ross. I totally agree. Would I give up Rum for Haaland? Fuck no. I don't think so. Good player, though. Great vid on Pogba the other day. Honest and balanced. Maybe he is the biggest flop, says Daniel. If you've not seen that, go check it out. And Don says, how good is Poch? Not very, is the answer. Jack Grealish would be amazing to have in the team. I think we signed Donny instead of him, and I think that was down to how much he was going to cost. But cheers for tuning in, everyone. There is going to be a Patreon podcast coming out tomorrow. So if you'd like to join the Patreon group and get involved with all of that stuff, the link for that will be in the description below. There's also a vlog, which I've just seen getting filmed in behind the scenes over there if you want to get in the mixer on that one. Cheers for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next one. Later.